Welcome back to Let's Not Sugarcoat It. Season 3 is here and we're excited to dive into the core of communication, relationships, and leadership.
We're your hosts, Bella and Lee, a husband and wife duo with a successful business helping couples and organizations get it together to play a bigger game and elevate their relationships and performance.
We believe in keeping it real, so each week we'll bring you incredible guests, entrepreneurs sharing their authentic experiences, along with episodes featuring just the two of us tackling the tough topics.
So, if you're ready to enhance your connections and sharpen your leadership skills, you're in the right place. Let's get started.
Welcome to another episode of Let's Not Sugarcoat It. We're so excited today to have Dr. Tracy and Dr. Jason Lotze-Boxtart because they're newlyweds, married. They are co-founders of Hormonal Medical, collectively bring over 40 years of experience in both naturopathic and Western medicine. They specialize in providing evidence-based integrated healthcare solutions tailored to men and women. By uniquely combining personalized approaches to wellness, they aim to guide patients on transformative health journeys that enhance their lives. So welcome to the show.
Thank you.
Yeah, we are so excited because this season is all about communication and relationships. And you guys are a husband and wife team that are working together. And you're in the wellness and health industry together. And one is Western and one is Chinese medicine.
Mm-hmm.
So
naturopathic medicine.
Naturopathic.
Yeah.
Are we allowed to even say that? Right? But yeah, naturopathic. And so there's dynamics, and because not always Western and naturopathic medicine.
It's almost the biggest, would you say, faux pas in medicine, or at least in a lot of time in North American belief or Canadian belief, you know, the medical doctor doesn't step over to the naturopathic side. There's been a long, unfortunate belief that naturopathic medicine wasn't really seen as real medicine for a very long time. And even us being colleagues, let's say, prior to dating and getting married, and then the consideration of us working together was very rare.
Yeah.
I think there's only a few clinics in BC that might have that combination. And then I think there's only one or two other ones that we're aware of where there are couples as well working in that context.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So tell us a little bit about how that whole system works. Because to me, Western and natural, can I say Chinese medicine? Or is it naturopathic?
It's technically a different
What's the difference? Actually, let's talk about that, because a lot of people will say naturopathic and Chinese are one.
In Canada, well, in North America, naturopathic doctors are sort of like the GP of natural medicine. Mm-hmm. So we're trained in a lot of different modalities, one of which is Chinese medicine.
Okay.
So, and then there's, all of it. So Chinese medicine, homeopathic medicine, Western botanical medicine, nutritional medicine, it goes on and on and on.
Yeah.
I think in second year, I was taking 13 classes at once.
Oh.
There was a bunch.
Yeah.
So we have to essentially, we're sort of like a GP. We're trained to be like a GP.
Yeah.
To use drugs, the typical drugs you'd go see your family doctor for.
Yeah.
And at the same time, we are also trained to use natural medicine and integrate the two together.
Yeah.
And so we also then have to know about where the pinch points would be there. So like contraindications for actually putting those things together. So like drug nutrient interactions or drug botanical interactions or those kinds of things.
Okay.
So we have to understand the pharmacology of the natural stuff and the drug stuff, and then how to put that together in an intelligent way.
Okay. Well, thank you for that clever, because it is when we talk to any of my friends, it's this or that. Like naturopaths are only working with this type of medicine versus well-rounded.
It was that way for a long time.
Yeah.
I would assume many of them probably do that as well, because it is such a large field of medicine. And there is so much, and it's even in general practice where you can only be so good at things.
Yeah.
But if you're a generalist, you're never going to be good at most things. You're not going to be bad, but you won't be great. So I think in defense to naturopathic doctors, I do find a lot of them will pick a smaller niche in that and then stick with that, because otherwise there can be so much noise and so much drowning out to them becoming better and specialists in certain components of it like you're saying, with that double or triple, like they have to know the Chinese component and the acupuncture points and then the Western medicine and all of these other things and try and bring it together. It's too much if you try and do it for everything.
Okay. Yeah.
Well, and I think, there's a stigma piece. There's also the, how do I differentiate myself from a traditional doctor, I suppose, right? So it's like, well, clear was the natural path, which is in the name. You're a natural path, right? And so I think if somebody decided to go see a natural path and a natural path was going, okay, here's some
ADD medicine,
traditional drug medication, they'd probably be like, but I thought you were a naturopath. Right?
Yeah.
And so
giving me other options.
The way that I typically
things,
So this is a conversation I've had a lot of times, as you can imagine.
Yeah.
Right. So the way that I usually help people understand is that if you're going to compare Western medicine and naturopathic medicine, it's really a difference in perspective more than a difference in tools, right? So because again, a medical doctor can also be an acupuncturist. I know some of those. It's really the zeitgeist is a difference in perspective. So oftentimes, and no value judgments here about, family doctors, naturopathic doctors, that kind of thing. This is just a general comment. Okay. little fine print, how it is on the internet these days. Yeah. But this is my perspective. Yeah. Okay. So, but what I usually say is that a naturopathic physician is during the conversation, when you're having a conversation with naturopath about, okay, so, building a plan or walking through history, medical history, we're trying to find a way to help that person heal themselves. So oftentimes we want to find a way to healing, right? To fix the problem. Whereas a family doc, for instance, has 7 minutes to have a conversation with a patient, and they say, "Oh, you have hypertension? Okay, here's some Ramapro."
They're treating them.
Where we go. Yeah. So you're treating the pathology, right?
Yeah.
Whereas oftentimes a naturopathic doctor would say, okay, well, maybe it's worthwhile reducing blood pressure right now, but we should also have a conversation about the why.
The root cause.
And then maybe we can get you to a place where you maybe not need that antihypertensive medication anymore.
Right. The healing is coming internal instead of external.
Because I literally have a tattoo on my shoulder that says, in Latin, the healing power of nature. So oftentimes the focus for us, one of the focuses for us, or at least the one we don't lose sight of, is people can also fix themselves. Right? We have this internal ability to get better if we're given the space to do that, right? And the right
understanding.
And so oftentimes we're going to be wanting to support that at the same time as, say, dealing with an acute pathology or something like that. And we just have a broad toolkit to do that in. Yeah. And so oftentimes when I'm choosing which tool to choose, I'm risk assessing, right? Yeah. So oftentimes if I'm dealing with an acute problem that needs to be addressed today, they'll use a drug, right? And then sometimes if I say, well, this is something that we can be managing over time, or say there's an emerging problem that really the risk is not acute, it doesn't really require a drug, then I can use a smaller tool, a smaller hammer, a natural thing or a lifestyle modification or whatever it might be to address an issue before it actually warrants using a drug. Right?
I have a question because in this fast-paced world, people want a quick fix now. They want a pill to fix everything.
Not wrong.
Right? Yeah. How do you navigate that type of,
I mean, I remind the patient.
Okay, there you go.
The answer is we do both. So in my practice, no, literally, seriously. So people, you always, the way I think about it is this. Oftentimes you're looking for an early win, right? Okay, so where can we win today? For this particular thing, right? That's important to the patient, right? And then that brings them along the journey to be able to then circle back and deal with the why. Yeah. You know what I mean? But oftentimes you have to get people out of the weeds first before they have even the inner ability and energy to deal with the why. Yeah. Right? You can't, flog a dead horse, right? If somebody comes to you exhausted, you can't say, well, you should go run. Yeah. Right. Yeah. Good idea. Yeah. Let's go to the gym. Right. Yeah.
But I think part of the conditioning of being human is we also sometimes need those quick wins to give us that momentum and that sense of like, okay, this is working. Yeah. And taking the pill, right? I love the traditional doctor answer. It's like, well, it depends. right?
Yeah. Totally depends.
But both, right?
But
it's like you get that little quick win, but it's like it's not the long term.
Well, not always.
Right? So take this, it's going to get you feeling better or on a path. So then you can also do these lifestyle changes, right? That in time, whatever that time is, then you don't need to do the pill fix.
And I find a lot of my patients at the moment, are really feeling discouraged by medicine. So saying, I'm seeing my doctor tells me I'm fine, I don't feel fine. How do I get to the bottom of this? This is why they're reaching out to us and going, we're reaching out because we've heard that you guys have a different approach. And part of my explanation to the patient is usually that Canadian doctors, and I say Canadian because I'm in Canada, Canadian doctors are trained to treat disease. So if you are not sick, I have no job.
Yeah.
Right? So when you come in, if I can diagnose a disease and I can give you medication to help with that, then my job is successful. They are not trained to prevent disease. They don't have the time to work with the patients either, because in the system that they've been trained in, they are told this is your expectation. You spend that time, you treat the disease, you move them on. So preventative medicine is not something that's in their wheelhouse. They're not even familiar with it. Then you want to add the nuances of things like, let's say, women's hormones and men's hormones, where it doesn't always fit into the defined numbers that they've been trained. I say as well is when we look at lab values, the lab values are only there to tell us whether you have a disease or not. Excuse me. They're not there to tell you whether or not you're healthy.
Yeah.
So when you're in normal doesn't, like a 2 out of 10 and an 8 out of 10 are not the same score, but they're both normal. And a lot of our patients are looking for that, how we can look at, okay, what in my normal realm can be optimized. And then we're able to use both Western medicine and lifestyle and naturopathic kind of modifications to be able to kind of get them that journey, which is what they're looking for.
Okay. So that's a good segue for me to ask about what is Omnio Health all about? Because I'm, you guys are husband and wife team, female, male, different perspective. We're in the same, age range where hormones for us are raging.
What do you mean?
Right?
I
have no idea what you're talking about.
And maybe raging, right? The hormones are declining.
Yeah, the hormones are declining.
We're raging.
Declining, we're raging. But it's communication changes. And there isn't that much education around what women are going through in this like perimenopausal entering menopause stage.
And
men as well, and how those two collide in this stage. And that's why we have so much divorce, separation, all that kind of stuff, because it's easier just to it's a challenging.
When you see it, like when you can see it from our perspective, I joke all the time and I say, I'm surprised many couples stay together because we become, at least as women, we definitely become different versions of ourselves, and we weren't expecting it. And obviously, sometimes the changes are subtle, and we don't see it, although our partners do. And then in that, the partners are trying to navigate, the shifts that are happening with us and their own, let's say, in the men, the hormonal decline. And it's not a conflict. It is a divergence in every way. And it's quite fascinating when you're able to bring it back together, which is, I think, what I'm most passionate about now, is really bringing that energy for the couples back together. He works with the men, I work with the women, and seeing that kind of reconfluence of what they wanted from the start, because these changes take you in every direction you could ever imagine. And then there's so much information online right now. It's like information overload. I mean, even if we take a very simple example of everywhere online, it tells a woman, eat more protein. But now you can't have soy because that's bad. And then you can't have this kind, and it has to be that quality, and it has to be so many grams, and it has to be in this form. And eventually there's so much noise about it.
Yeah.
People actually just shut it down and go, I'm not going to follow any of it, or I'm not going to listen to any step of it because it's too much.
Yeah. It becomes overwhelming, and how our minds process overwhelm is usually
analysis,
just to avoid.
paralysis.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. Just to avoid, right?
Yeah,
Exactly.
Yeah.
Fight, flight, or freeze. That's what happens when we get into overwhelm.
Yeah. And then we are so conditioned to get all of that information. So when we're running workshops and stuff, we also have to hold things back because people can only process so much. So when you, as a holistic approach, giving smaller info and working on 1 or 2 things versus 10 at one. I went to a naturopathic doctor back in the day, and then he's like, you have to take this. And I'm like, I am overwhelmed. I am not a pill popper. I could not get myself together. I was so overwhelmed. I quit.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, that's how it goes.
Yeah.
And a lot of what we're trying to do when we look at kind of supporting health is it is a long game.
Yeah.
Now, some of it we're doing for right now, but some of it we're doing because we're now identifying in 10 years' time, I still want to be this healthy.
Yeah.
That's why they call it longevity.
Yes.
Right?
But if I'm taking 20 tablets a day for the next 10 years, besides the cost, which is not always realistic for a lot of people, it's the amount of work. If it's, nobody wants to do 500% work or something that they cannot tangibly feel or see. Yeah. When you're 10 years down the line and you can go, I can now see what I did was worth it. It's different. But when you're starting that journey and you don't see the end path and there's nothing to feel along the way, it's a lot of empty work, to people who don't understand it. Yeah.
Well, and I think too that there's kind of a tipping point that will happen, right? Where the reason why it's a lot more costly for this type of stuff is because it is right now a bit of a niche place, because most people start to get to a place in their life where they are starting to not feel healthy, or they start to feel the shifts, and then it's like, oh, I need to do something different. But leading up to that point, you're taking your health kind of at an advantage. And what's available to us, easily accessible, is like fast food and junk food and all these things that we eat and consume, and there's no direct impact, right? Like the consequences of that are long term, right? And yet we're the ones that are power. Like if everybody stopped going to McDonald's for burgers, as an example, it would force them to have to shift to something healthier, right? And then we'd have healthy food probably at a more affordable price, potentially.
I mean, in Taiwan, when we lived at McDonald's for the children, the Happy Meals, there was apples and carrots. There was no French fries. There was nothing. Like, you had your chicken nugget, but there was no. And when we were living there, and I was ordering French fries for my 5-year-old back then, they were giving me like, oh, I was like, how is this? But culturally, it's different, right? It's a different.
Chicken nuggets were in deep fry. They're just grilled chicken breasts.
Grilled chicken breasts. In North American culture, one thing that we've really kind of experienced, and we've seen that as a South African, I've seen that a bit, and then when we've traveled, we see that the North American culture is about bigger and more. So if we look at other countries, keep you on the go, because then you're more likely to come back, right? That perception of fast. We look at, many Asian countries where the sizes and the portions are so small. We look at them as North Americans and go, I don't want this little 50 ml bottle of juice. I can get, the 150 ml one or the 500 ml one for the same price. But when you speak to them, they, a lot of people who are growing up in that culture, they say, I only need as much as I actually need. So why would I buy supersize me? Because you cannot drink 1.5 liters of Coca-Cola with your giant meal. It's actually not realistic, but we're training North Americans to keep going bigger and wanting bigger and more, because it's the industry that then sells, right? They're able to sell more, unfortunately. But it leads to massive health detriments.
Going back to what you two are up to in your practice, so there's all these internal changes that are happening. And again, the conditioning is all about when we don't feel right, when there's something that happens to us that doesn't make us feel whole, we immediately look to the external, right? To look for why. And then who's closest to us when we look external? It's usually our partner, right? And then we fall into that blame game. We start
lots of
criticizing, doing all the things, right? Like, I feel crappy because you're not doing this, or it's not enough of this or enough of that, or whatever it is, where how you're feeling is not always to do with that other person, right?
For sure.
And so there's the chemical stuff, right, that affects body and mind, but then also just the perspective changes, right? And when you start feeling better, you can start to take that divergence and start to bring it back, right? It's so important.
And I think we've experienced that quite a bit. I mean, we see it in practice all the time, but you and I as a couple have gone through that too. as I am going through my own hormonal changes and changing as a person from when we met, right? We met just over started dating just over about 5 years ago. And at that point, I was less unstable. I was more stable. My hormones were definitely.
He's thinking, can I laugh about this?
And as that
all the time,
as
so
that
okay.
shift has happened, even I'm looking at myself going, this is not what he signed up for.
Yeah.
And yet he's still there and he's staying. And kudos to that. I mean, this man loves me to death, and I'm so grateful. But there's that own feeling of, man, I can't imagine what my patients feel like, because I at least know what's going on, and I know how to control this, and he knows what's going on, despite there being days where we're both overwhelmed.
Yeah.
How do my patients manage this? How do his patients manage this? When they don't actually know what's going on, and it's happening, and they have. They're just feeling there's many days where we felt so lost in it, in our own health. There's days where we're just hoping I don't die again, or I've unfortunately had cancer twice. And then we're going through that. And we really do, I want to say, understand that kind of nuance for our patients of like the changes that happen and then the insecurities that go with it, but also just having no idea and where to from here, and trying to also navigate it for ourselves so that we can then tell our patients, we've tried and tested this, and this is these things that we know will help or will work.
I really commonly start people on what I call the effort amplifier plan.
Tell us about that.
Well, it requires effort. Right? And
those one-liners next.
What I do is I set people up for a win, right?
Yeah.
So if they actually do the thing that we plan, right? That it actually goes really well, right? And then that encourages them to continue, right? And so, and then maybe eventually our intervention, they don't require so much anymore, like training wheels almost. I literally, I use that term in my practice all the time when I'm starting guys off. And like I said, getting them out of the ditch, back on the road again. And because oftentimes getting out of the ditch takes more effort than once you got going and have some momentum and away you go, right? Yeah. And so oftentimes we're intervention heavy initially, but it's not the forever plan. Right. The goal is that, we're moving away from that and moving you into this, into a direction that's sustainable for you, right? It's for the patient and their life and their plan and what they want to do, not necessarily what I think is the ideal thing to do or what I do. I will say people generally look at us, me in particular, because I'm a naturopath, and think that I'm some sort of paragon of virtue. I am not by any stretch. I mean, I love a single malt scotch, and when I graduated med school, celebrated with a big, Churchill, like a big, not a small cigarillo, like a size Churchill, and because I think that life is worth living, right? The trick is to figure out a way to do that in a reasonable way. And then, but then also compress disability towards the end of your life. Like I'm going to be I turned 58 this summer, right? And I want to be out there killing it until I'm like 80 or more. I mean, I have a patient that's going to run he's going to do his second bodybuilding competition and he's 83.
That's awesome.
You know what I mean? Yeah. And granted, he's not an average guy, but the point being is that's doable. Like that's a thing that people, you can aspire to. You know what I mean? As opposed to slowly sinking into your pile of crap, after 40. You know what I mean? You got the boiled frog syndrome thing where everything is getting crappier, but it's just normal for you. You know what I mean?
There's an identity piece there, right? When someone is in, as you called the ditch, right? And you're in there for so long, whether the ditch is life is just crappy because of like stuff that's happened, like the finances or relationships or whatever, or the ditch is constant pain, or it becomes a part of who you are, your new normal.
Just normal.
And then the idea of not having that in your life, that's where that identity crisis starts to become, right? Because, well, if I don't have this, then what? Right? Because you need to change your habits and all the things.
And the mindset,
doing.
Like that's the thing is like we're not conditioned to think bigger. What's possible? We look at other people and like, oh my gosh, they're that superhuman. I could never achieve. Well, if you say I can't, you won't.
Sure, exactly.
It's like going back to I love what you said. It's in the understanding. Right.
Knowing what you don't know is the first step is trying to figure out what you don't know.
Yeah.
And I mean, there are multiple times in my life where I can say, I realized I don't know what I want to know.
Yeah.
But how do I get there?
Yeah.
But the first step has to also be, okay, what do I know and how can I use that to my power? And then keep searching for what. Now, a lot of patients come to us because they don't have the understanding of what they need to know for their health. And they do want the guidance and they don't always want to have to think about it.
Yeah.
They don't want to have to go online and do more research. They want us to tell them exactly what, and in very simple terms, why they'll be using it. And they're happy to follow that. And a lot of our patients within 3 or 6 months, they're like, thank you, you've changed our lives.
Yeah.
Or the wives will start with me and then the husbands are seeing you after that saying, okay, now I can't keep up with my wife.
Yeah.
And then they're having to see him, to get their health optimized again as well. Or we're kind of working in tandem with couples that way. But it is
That's a super fun part of our practice.
It is.
I really like that, actually.
Getting couples reunited, in that health and really intimate space as well.
Yeah. I love it. Yeah.
That because it's like united, you move forward, not divided, right? And if we're going through our own changes, and we're not talking and we don't understand each other, then how are we supposed to work and move together?
As a woman living this myself, I can tell you, we are probably the reason for a lot of the misunderstanding as well, right? Between our brain fluctuating, our body fluctuating, and then this perception that our partner is not always, responding the right way or that some of it's his fault. And he's just, a lot of the time, the men are just trying to kind of be there going, I don't know what I'm supposed to do.
Yeah.
Right. They're trying to stay out of the firing line.
Go hang out in the garage.
Go hang out in the garage with the guys. And I totally get that. And really being able to get women feeling more stable from a day-to-day perspective. And then when they can communicate, they can communicate safely. But the other thing that I really love doing, which I think you do less of, is the sexual health.
Yeah.
Because I say if couples can stay intimately connected, there is more communication. There is more health between the two of them. There is more convergence of understanding.
Yeah.
And even the science has proven if you stay intimately connected with your partner, everything in your life is kind of potentially 30, 40, 50% greater, whether it be your job, whether it be your communication with your kids or what you're doing at home or even with each other. And when we see that in our patients, it's so beautiful.
Yeah. So speaking of sexual health, because a lot of on social media out there in the world, it's like, oh, it's the woman, right? But I feel like
it's not always.
Right? There is the men aspect as well.
It's a partnership.
Yes,
it's a partnership, right? Like you guys are going through changes and
I have
whatnot.
those conversations with almost all my patients.
Yeah. So how do you guys do you guys coach couples on that piece?
Not directly. We mostly see our patients one-on-one.
Yeah.
And we may not always necessarily have like two people sitting in front of us.
Okay.
What I see is very commonly, first of all, one shows up in our practice and then they start feeling well. And then there's either a positive impetus or a friction impetus that gets the second person to show up, right?
Yeah.
And then very not uncommonly that happens from the wife sort of drags the husband into the practice, and when it's a couple situation. But yeah, super commonly I have conversations with guys about libido and erection quality and all that kind of stuff, right?
Yeah.
And when you have frank conversations about that, you just like talk about it like you're talking about the weather, and you're having a private conversation with the guy. And it's also helpful that I do it all over video, so we're not actually like in each other's space, and it's like for guys it's a little bit more comfortable. Like a lot of guys will have really challenging conversations and not even look at each other. You know what I mean? Like this it's just a guide deal. So I allow for that in the conversation. And that, because very commonly most men just don't want to have that conversation. Right? And it can be really, really challenging for a guy's self-worth and who he thinks he is and all that kind of stuff, right? And who we used to be and here he is now and all this kind of thing. And sometimes that aligns with their partner also losing that part of their life in perimenopause and that kind of thing. So sometimes they just sort of do this
and they both don't know where to go from there.
Right. So sometimes like reigniting that kind of thing can take a little bit of effort. But but I will tell you that to end that, I will say that that when the sexuality or the intimate part of a relationship falls away and a guy has had, a few swing and misses, in that way, that really impacts a guy. And I used to race motorcycles. And I tell my patients, like, when this happens and it gets into your head, my racing coach used to tell me, listen, the bike goes where you look. Yeah. Right? You've got to look around the corner and then the bike will go in the corner. And the same thing happens for this kind of thing. If you're thinking in your head the whole time, oh God, I hope it doesn't happen again. Yeah. Sure as hell. This is the way it's going to go. And so oftentimes I tell guys, okay, we need training wheels. So we need some wins here. Yeah. And when you sort of talk like this, it's almost like, okay, we're coaching a basketball team kind of an idea, right? Right. Then that's the language that guys get. Yeah. Guys are frankly quite coachable. Yeah. Because they come from that culture, right? Yeah. So if you talk to them like, okay, so here's the game plan. You know what I mean? And all of a sudden they're like, okay, I think I can pull this off. And then away we go, right? Yeah. But oftentimes they have to have, frankly, the courage to take that step to go, okay, I'm going to trust you here. Yeah. Right? Yeah. I just want to make sure I'm not going to get smoked in the face again when I try this. Right? Yeah. 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 So that's the deal.
Yeah. It comes down to communication. Like, this is our world as well, right?
Really challenging.
It is. Yeah. So as couples, we talked earlier about, you don't know where you're going to go if you don't know where you are. So having those conversations with your partner and being open and honest, saying, hey, I'm going through some crazy stuff right now where I'm sweating in the middle of the night. I wake up, I'm angry, and then I'm happy. And it's like this roller coaster of, but I don't know what's happening. Same with him. You're coming and saying, this is what I'm struggling with. Then you know where you are, and then you can come and fix the communication issues and fix your health issues, right? And then you're flowing again, right?
Yeah, and the beautiful part of this is, like, when patients have reached out to us, they're at the point where they're going, I want something to be fixed. Yeah. They may not always realize what it is, but they've at least realized that they need help. Yeah. And at that point, we're able to go, okay, let's step back and kind of dissect what's going on. Yeah. And they're open to getting the guidance and starting that discussion of what do we need to communicate about, you know, how are we going to do this? What is the game plan? Which steps do we follow?
There's a wide variety of patients too. You got to remember, right? Not everyone is coming to us and wants to revamp their life. Yeah. Like a lot of guys that I talk to just want a little testosterone to feel like themselves again. Right. Full stop. Yeah. Still going to drink beer on the weekend. Like all the things. And so I respect that too. I mean, you don't have to be, you don't have to do the whole bloody thing. You know what I mean? But you can, but you don't have to. Yeah. Like, everyone comes from a different perspective.
But I still love the approach where it's like, here's the game plan, where it can be like, you're providing options and perspective.
I talk about possibilities.
Where you're just like, hey, right? I can do this, right? And this is the predictable, certain future if you do this. Yeah. Not saying it's bad, not saying it's great, but this would here's an alternative, right? If you want to put in a little more effort, then we could still do some testosterone or whatever. But if you also do these lifestyle changes, I mean, this is also what's possible, right? Which I love that piece, because again, going back to social media, there's so much stuff out there that falls into your algorithm.
It's just about noise,
what to do, right? And it's always like, oh, well, if I need to be this ripped,
half of it's silliness.
Where to feel good, you don't need to look a certain way. To feel a certain way.
Not everyone has to react.
No.
I mean, it's fun.
Well, even for the ladies, right? There's a lot of pressure to do the yoga and do the journaling and eat this way and do this. And that doesn't resonate with everybody. Yeah. right? I don't want to journal. But when you see these kind of things that pop up, it's always like, do this and do this and this. But 3 of those 5 things don't resonate with me. So trying to find in the kind of tool case, which tools will work for the patient, and having them identify that as you chat with them, you're able to go, okay, these things will work for them. How much will they help? Yeah. And what do we need to add then in some other way, whether it be medication or kind of a quicker fix to support that? Because I'm going to lose traction if I try and tell them to do the same 5 for everyone. Right?
Well, I think some of this stuff is all about, experimentation as well, because even just going back to certain tools, like you talk about journaling, just because you try something and somebody says it works for them and it doesn't work for you, a lot of people failure. It's like, it's not failure. It doesn't mean, give up on it all. It's like, okay, this didn't work. What else could I do? Right? Maybe instead of journaling, it's a different type of reflection practice, mindfulness practice, whatever it is. And everyone thinks of mindfulness as a form of meditation where it's like, I need to sit in silence and think of nothing. And it's like, no, that's not, there's forms of mindfulness that it's like mindfulness in action. Right? You can literally be out for a walk in the woods or exercising in the gym or whatever it is, and you can still be mindful and just practice being in the moment. And that's a form of meditation.
That's me, hiking. I love hiking, being in nature, and just being around beauty. The lake, the mountains, we do live in a beautiful place. I cannot sit in an office and I do not get creative. My mind does not function well in a box. So again, he journals every single day. I journal when I have things I need to release, but like that other type of manifestation and whatever, I do that out in nature when I'm walking, and I connect to the sun is beating, and then I presence myself. I'm like, listen to the birds. I hear this. That's meditation, right?
I feel that in water, and he can vouch for that. I would probably be in the water all day, every day if I could, right? Whether it be on a surfboard, whether it be in a hot tub, whether it be in a swimming pool, whether it even be in a shower. Sometimes I'll go shower in the middle of the day, for 20 minutes. And most of it is just that's my quiet time, and the water has that soothing effect on me.
I love baths. Yeah. Like I walk by, and now it's like when the bath is calling me, I don't care what I'm doing, I'm getting a bath.
If I'm committing to a bath, it has to be at least 1 to 2 hours. Yeah. It will always be. We sometimes pick a hotel room by the type of bath they have. Yeah. Because that for me is definite quiet time.
I love that.
Yeah.
I want to go back to something.
Okay, let's go.
So I'll preface it first. So we're having this conversation about kind of getting back on track. And to believe that getting back on track means all of a sudden you're back to just always being the best version of yourself always is not true, right? Like that's false news. So here you are, you're in this is your practice. This is what you do for people. But you've also said that there's still times when you don't show up as the best version of yourself. In those moments, what are some things that you apply or modality that you use to help you through those moments so that it doesn't get to a place where it causes too much tension on your relationship? Because it's not like you can just, wake up in the morning and then all of a sudden it's like you both go off to work and you're separate. No, you have a business together. And so it's very different. What are some things that you do?
I can definitely say we've become better at it, firstly. So time spent together allows us to also learn more about each other, since it is a newer relationship. One of the things I think that we've become really good at is identifying in the morning when one of us is definitely having a more challenging day. And in that space, like for him, he'll be able to usually see it. Us as a woman, we're usually more obvious, how well we're managing for the day. And he will definitely often come over, hug me, give me the energy, and then as I'm working throughout the day, he'll quickly stop in and bring me a lunch and those things. So we'll be able to step in for each other. With him as well, I try and be conscious of that. And if I can see it's a day where maybe he didn't sleep well, he's more fatigued, or he's having a bit more of a challenge, trying to be conscious of knowing, okay, I'm going to fetch the kids. Did I sort dinner out? Is there anything else in the calendar that I can manage and take off that we don't have to do together? So trying to just be that person. So that's why in couples, they talk about it's not always 50-50. So on that day, I will try, and I'm not necessarily going to be good at it, but I'm going to try and carry 80% of the burden so that he can manage the 20% that he has to, and vice versa. And then some days it may seem more than that, or days where it seems more than that for each person.
The trick is, I think, to pay attention, but then also you have to do that with love in your heart,
without resentment.
Right? You can't be like,
I did this, so you should do this. Yeah.
Right. All that kind of stuff that happens.
Yeah.
You have to be super careful about that.
Right. Like you're constantly
you have to learn over
doing
time
the things and you feel like there's a deficit there.
And we sometimes have a conversation about that too.
Yeah.
Like
we have to learn how to
listen, I'm driving around too much.
Yeah.
I'll just say, listen, like I feel like I'm the car nanny now. We need to make an adjustment.
Yeah.
And then so we do.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But I've had to make adjustments in myself, and that I have to say that earlier. Pretty commonly, I would just like, I'm the stoic, right? So I'm just I can power through anything that's uncomfortable.
Yeah.
So, and I would, but eventually
it comes
just
out.
It grinds on your nerve eventually, right?
Right.
Yeah. So the thing I had to learn was to have conversations about that earlier, as opposed to wait until it was bugging me enough that it actually then had to say something.
Yeah.
Let's talk more about the conversations, because I mean, to have those types of conversations, it's not just like, how's the weather type of dialogue, right?
Yeah.
There's a little bit of how you come into it, what mindset, things like that, because you were already providing the answer to the question of, is it a trial and error thing? Because when you're saying, he's going to get me lunch or these types of things, and you're going to do things for him, it's like you just trial and error that stuff until you start to find stuff that clicks. Or is it a conversation about your needs?
Oftentimes not. Well,
not at this point. I think we've been through an evolution ourselves where we've had to learn how to talk to each other, because we also both came with coping mechanisms from our previous relationships. Yeah. And then when we try to approach each other with those coping mechanisms, they didn't work. And it actually created a lot of friction, in the way we were trying to communicate. And there were times where we were like, is this going to work? Because even though we're not having blow-ups very frequently, when we're having them, they're so kind of discordant and not healthy and leaving us feeling so unsettled afterwards. We had to do, some reflective work of, how am I bringing myself? And is this the right approach for my partner that I have right now? And is it healthy for me? And where do we go from here? And it's not perfect, and it's an evolution. And we're still working on that, but we're trying to communicate with each other. When you do that, it makes me feel this way. Can we try and do that less? And we're both doing that to each other, and then we're trying to be conscious of that and make it habit over time. Yeah. But initially, it's not habit. You have to think about it when as a woman. So now I'm angry for today. Now am I just going to blow up? Okay, no, he doesn't like that. Now, I don't want to go to bed feeling like ragey. So what can I do? But really, am I being angry for the right reason or not? Yeah. And then if I'm going to approach it, am I going to approach it with here's a conversation and I just want to splurge? Because that might not be healthy either. I don't get to just dump my anger onto you and then you say nothing and we go to bed and everything has to be fine. So a little bit of self-reflection back going, if I'm feeling a certain way, is it really just on me to navigate that? And maybe it has nothing to do with him.
It's like for us, it's like what worked before stopped working.
Doesn't keep working.
Right? Because we're changing. And that's going back to hormones, body change, like all that.
And an evolution of us as adults.
Our needs,
we're becoming newer versions of ourselves, we do have to kind of shed the old behaviors. Yeah. And some of those old coping skills that worked 10 years ago are not going to work anymore because our partner is also evolving. And they're also expecting something different. And
it can be really challenging for people.
It has been. And I think
super scary.
It is,
for us, it has been.
Right?
You have to get curious about, okay, what does my partner need at this particular stage in their lives? And whatever, situation that we're in, right?
Or even triggers, right? Like your partner may do something and it triggers you and you don't actually understand that it's a trigger. It wasn't the action that your partner did that's unhealthy. The action created a memory and that memory has put you in uncertainty, whether it be a memory from childhood, whether it be a memory from a partner, whether it be a memory from a previous partner. It doesn't matter, but the trigger is now creating a secondary response in you. But if you don't understand that, that you're only seeing it as a primary emotional response instead of, wait a minute, this only made me feel unsure because maybe back in the day somebody did that and it created an insecurity in me.
Yeah.
And actually my partner wasn't even meaning any ill intent with that.
Yeah.
Yeah, there was a really good distinction that may have got buried in something you said earlier. I want to make sure that we capture it. It's your communication wasn't working.
Yeah.
It's not that you weren't working as a couple.
Yeah.
Right. And that's really important. I think that a lot of the times, whether it's at the beginning of a relationship or later on, when there's breakdowns in the way that you're communicating with each other, it's easy to go, oh, we're not working. Right. We're not compatible. We don't work. But when you are committed to each other and have that perspective of, well, no, we're together because this person declares that, you know, they love me and we're together for a reason, then it must be something else, right? And then you start working on, okay, how do we communicate better, right? How do I adjust my own meaning making so that when he or she does this thing and I get triggered, you know, how do I reflect?
Identifying it as a trigger.
How do I reflect on it so I can work through it and communicate it in a way where it's like, hey, maybe not in that moment because your heart rate is peaked. You know, wait till the heart rate comes back down and then communicate it afterwards and say, hey, even if you don't have it figured out yet, to still have the conversation and say, hey, earlier today, this thing happened and it really triggered me. It's you know, it's not you, right? It's not blaming you, but I just want to have a conversation about it so we're on the same page. I'm still working through it, figuring it out, because then, men or women, it's like when you see the body language, when the partner's triggered and they have those little micro expressions or right, you know, they start
talking about this morning, actually, to be honest, you know. I woke up and I was triggered and nothing to do with him. It was just like, I don't know if I heard something or whatever. And I was just like shut down mode and, you know, we're come down and we're prepping for the show and whatnot. And he's like, what's wrong? And I say nothing. And he's like, no, there's something. And I'm like, there's nothing. Not right now, not at this moment.
Means I don't want to talk about it right this second.
I don't want to talk about it right this second because we have, you know, guests coming. This is not something to open the Pandora's box right now.
You can kick this
right?
down the road.
Exactly, right? Yeah, I don't want to be crying. I don't know where this is going to go. And I don't even know actually why. I'm just feeling anxious and like there was
and in the perimenopause this is very common for women and we'll see this as well in men whose testosterone starts dropping and they don't realize why and they'll feel anxious and those kind of things, but we see this emotional volatility in women more frequently in the perimenopause, and unfortunately a lot of women then get put on antidepressants to try and regulate that out, and it's not the better solution. It is a solution for many, and it's great. And there are many patients who don't feel comfortable thinking about taking hormones. But when you add that kind of hormonal fluctuation that's happening, it does. There's many days you wake up and you have no idea why.
Same thing happens in men's health. The most common prescribed intervention for low testosterone is an antidepressant. Because they look the same.
Yeah.
My approach is always any man who shows up depressed doesn't get an antidepressant until we've checked his testosterone, looked for sleep apnea, and look at some other cause, because men innately, and I know this is a very generalized statement, but men innately are not depressed people.
Right.
Women get depressed because we have lots of fluctuations and our expectations are usually a little unrealistic. I'll say unrealistic.
Men expect less of themselves.
But men have the stability of less fluctuation in their hormones and kind of a way to kind of be more stable through life. Men definitely have that luxury more often than women do. I'm not saying everybody does all the time. And in that, there is more of a security and an understanding where, so when a man comes in and goes, I'm depressed, it's almost a red flag for both of us. We will always be like, number one, we're going to take this serious, but we're not going to give him an antidepressant. We're going to look for a cause. And if life is completely overwhelming and he's got a lot going on and he's depressed, sure, we'll put him on an antidepressant. But we're going to give him hope that this isn't possibly what's actually going on and that we can find a cause.
Oftentimes it's not the lifelong plan.
And is it still? Because this was maybe like 6-7 years ago, something like that. Like we were in Edmonton and I went and saw our family doctor, who for a GP was pretty good, where I remember going in and just saying, hey, my energy is just not there, right? And it's kind of explaining this kind of state that I'm in. And he just was like, hey, we're going to do some blood work, but we're also going to check your testosterone levels. And I realized at that moment, I was like, oh, that's not like a part of a regular check. Like when you go in for your yearly annual physical and getting all your blood work, like that doesn't get checked. Because then we checked it and it came back to your top, like my testosterone was low, but was still within the normal range. And so he's like, you're pretty low, but it's still in that normal range. So he's like, here's what we can do. We can put you on a plan, right? And, you know, here are your options. You can do a patch, you can do oral, you can do injection, suggest injection, come to the office, what it means. But before we do that, maybe you just want to take some supplements, like some creatine, hit the gym, maybe put on some more muscle mass, right? That'll help your testosterone. Right. And I never had to do that route because I went and kind of took care of the inner piece myself. But I realized that, like, why isn't this something that just gets tested for men?
It's not even something that gets diagnosed.
No, honestly, I've talked to lots of family docs about this privately. The conversation usually goes, we're not trained to use this modality. It's a controlled drug in Canada. It's a controlled drug in Canada. So there's a lot more oversight and pitfalls in and around
it's similar to you being on morphine, actually. Like they're controlled the same way. It's registered. Anyone who actually gets testosterone is on a controlled drug list. So the patient doesn't even always realize when we prescribe them testosterone, they now go on a monitored list by the government because they're getting a controlled substance.
Really? So usually those drug categories are risk stratified, but in testosterone's case, it's not. But it was just diverted into gym bags so badly in the 80s that it was moved over into this controlled category. And so there's that issue from the medical legal standpoint and practice standpoint. And also, usually it's complicated. It's not that simple. It's not as simple as titrating up an SSRI for depression or, you know, moving somebody on a statin or antihypertensives or the typical sort of bread and butter stuff that a family doc can do that typically does in their practice, right? So it has all these sort of pitfalls that typically can go sideways. And then the challenge is, now what?
Yeah.
Right? That's what sort of separates the men from the boys. It's sort of like when everything goes fine, it's easy. But when it doesn't go fine, that's when things get interesting, right? Yeah. And so it just doesn't fit super well in family practice the way we've built it through MSP. And so I used to be adjunct faculty at UBC. And I used to do an integrative medicine talk at the end of every year in the medical program. And I used to tell them flat out at the end of that talk every year, don't ever change what you do. Don't change 7-minute.
The residents.
Yeah. I would tell all the students, don't change your 7-minute practice. Like, never take your hand off the doorknob.
Right.
And see, you know, as many patients as you can a day, because I have 2 timeshares and 2 kids. and you know, and we need to keep my successful practice going to, you know, keep the wheels on the party bus.
Yeah.
But honestly, and they would be, you know, kind of teased off with me about it. But but it was honestly the truth.
Right. Yeah.
My practice wouldn't exist if their practice was different.
Right.
Yeah.
Right, I mean? So if we designed MSP to be different than what it is now, where we made health outcomes part of medical practice as an example, right?
Oh, make it measurable.
Yeah, right?
Yeah.
Just as an example.
Yeah.
Every other profession has
that.
But anyway, I'm not going to poke the bear too much. But say that was the case, then, and we funded it differently, right? Because you got to remember, funding is just the breadcrumbs in the forest. You want people to go at a different path, just change the breadcrumbs, right?
Yeah.
And so if you incentive doctors differently, and if they had metrics, their practices would be entirely different.
We have to retrain. The patients, though. Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
No, honestly, like when my practice was a 3rd-year rotation for UBC, that the medical students would come in and spend a week with me, and really commonly they would say, "Man, like this is what family medicine used to be like."
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You can actually build a therapeutic relationship with your patient, actually get to know them and understand them and get to know their family a little bit and all this kind of stuff, and understand all of this, right?
Yeah.
Their life, as opposed to whatever the hell you can glean, you know, in the first 30 seconds of talking to them while they're telling you what their problem is and you're busy looking at your prescription pad. And I know for a fact that lots of family, because I talk about family docs because that's the equivalent to me, they oftentimes are challenged by their practice. Like they kind of hoped for something different, and then they went into the system, and
the system is quite broken in that. And I say this again just as my perspective of being in the system for so many years. When you have a system where the patient can see the doctor every single day. So if all of your clients could phone you every single day, and they do every time they bump their toe, how much time and effort would you be able to actually give them all in a real way? You can't. So we have a system where I use the example, it's like Niagara Falls going into a funnel. Okay. So we have doctors working X amount of time, but we have every single day they have, like they look at walking clinics and they go, I can never get in. 50% or 40% of the people there every day, and I know this because I had my own urgent care clinic where we were seeing 200 people a day between three of us, 7 days a week. And I can tell you 50% of all the people that showed up every single week did not need to be there.
Yeah.
You do not need to come check, for me to come check the fact that you sprained your ankle 3 weeks ago and you're just double checking it. Like those are things where we've made people sort of completely incapacitated to understand that you're not always going to feel great.
Yeah.
I mean, the best example is I had a patient come in, and I've seen them since, and they still remember this. And they said, Doctor, I have blue hands. And they're really worried. And they've waited 2 hours in the lineup. And they're already agitated because they had to wait 2 hours. And I'm thinking, it was their choice to show up that day, right? I looked at it was a female. I looked at the female patient's hands, made her go wash her hands. And it was the blue dye that had come up from the new jeans she was wearing that day. So that was a consult.
Yeah.
And the government has to pay for that for my time, but that's not what I was trained to do.
Yeah.
But then they're also complaining, well, I waited 2 hours. And it's like, but I didn't make you wait 2 hours. You could have washed your hands.
Yeah.
Or you could have waited till tomorrow, because blue hands is not really that common.
Yeah.
And look outside the box. But we've incapacitated the public to have any understanding of health.
Yeah.
And then the minute we tell people, please stay away from emergency departments, it's super busy, like only really emergent people. You know who are the only people who do not show up?
The one that needs the emergency.
The really sick patients. Because everybody else doesn't care. I worked emergency for many, many years. And at 3 o'clock in the morning, I'd have people come in with a splinter in the finger that they couldn't get out.
Yeah.
Because they wanted to come in and it's an emergency to them.
Yeah.
And when we have a system like that, where we have only a finite amount of resource, but we have an infinite amount of basically just water rushing over, you're never going to be able to give the care you can. And you're always going to get burnout. And until we choose to change that and not allow an open door system for you to basically show up every day and complain about something, it's never going to work. Yeah, it's never going to give people better medicine, because the doctors can't provide it in a system where they're expected to babysit people all day.
Yeah, and it's like we are conditioned to constantly rely on others to make us feel either better, a certain way, to provide for us, instead of looking in and going, okay, actually, I do have the tools and the knowledge. If I choose to educate myself, I mean, a lot of people make fun of me because the term granola mom. I'm like, what is a granola mom? I didn't know. I'm like, give me some cool name. I make my own food.
I like granola.
You know.
Yeah.
I had a cat named granola once.
Right? And it's somebody who apparently does things, you know, doesn't buy the baby food, makes their own, and so on and so forth. It's not that hard, you guys.
I might make dinner every night from scratch. My family hates it because they wish I'd make something more exciting. But I'm like,
so you know what my new exciting thing is now? It's like, because I have anemia and my hemoglobin is down, so I don't absorb the iron, right? So he's making fun of me, although he knows he's making fun of me, because here I go research. I'm like, okay, what can I take? What kind of foods? What kind of meat? Without having to go to the doctors,
which is none of the above.
Yeah.
It's organs.
It's organ, cow.
Yes.
Organ.
So I took dried beef liver capsules.
Yeah. So
which you would think would be like, when somebody does this research and gets to a place where they're just like, oh, I need to digest like certain organs, so I'll go get like a dried powder in a capsule and have that, right?
Did you buy extra liver?
But that wouldn't be.
I bought the kidney, I bought the liver, and the heart. And I didn't realize how much work it is for the kidney because you have to soak it for a few hours, depending how large it is. Then you have to cut out all the stuff. Then you have to soak it in milk. And then you have to, do all this extra stuff. Well, guess what? I have little baggies of freaking cow.
Prior to that, it was like, what's in the slow cooker?
Like mommy's medicine. And also these things are accessible. So this is also a test for me because, cow heart, the liver, and the kidney, they cost me about $8. The pills are going to cost $90, $100 a month. Well, I have a month's supply in my little baggies for $10, really, and my time, right? But I do like trying things because then I know what is in that capsule, what is in my baggie, and it's what is going in mine, like digestion, because I don't trust everything. What they tell you on the label. I know I used to on a skincare company, and I know what goes on the label,
And we've spent some time making sure that we work with companies that we can trust. So the supplements that we do usually recommend, which are not as many as you'd assume, we use as well ourselves, and we try to figure out the brands that we can trust so that the product you're getting is what it actually says, right? But I do that, so I take the capsules. And
well, once I ran out of my baggies, I don't think I want to do another cow, what is it, kidneys?
It was a try.
It was a try. I mean, it's, it does taste like liver. So just
the idea is mix it with your other food, right? So this is where you're supposed to mix it into the chili pot or mix it into the ground beef.
For yourself.
For yourself.
Oh, no.
Into your serving.
In the US and in the UK now, they actually have
family pot and it's Bella's pot.
I just take the capsules and then I don't have to torture my family any further. They appreciate that, yes. Because they're not going to be open to that.
But I also want to show my kids, too, that it's not all just like pill pushing. We have
an iron fish. I have an iron fish in my drawer that you're supposed to stick in the pot when you're cooking, and then cast iron pot, right? Those kind of things. I always tell people there are all these little things that our ancestors did, and that's why they had these issues with this.
We still had a life expectancy of 45.
They did.
But they didn't die of anemia.
It was only 100 years ago that as a female in Canada we lived past 60. Only 100 years.
Really?
Yeah.
Well,
so menopause wasn't a big deal back then either, because they didn't make it. Most people didn't make it past 60.
Wow. Yeah.
Well, I think that's also why the female body is so understudied, because we didn't live that long, and then we did study the male.
There were a lot of births and things like that in childbirth. A lot of deaths in childbirth. Right? There were a lot of other things that are kind of killing moms along the way as well. That decreased it. Although men were usually killed in war and through accidents and things like that as well.
Those challenges for sure.
Now our biggest threat of death is menopause.
Surely from you guys, yes.
Ducking fast.
That's right.
Hoping that you're not getting, you're going to wake up the next day that she didn't poison you overnight with some cyanide or something.
Don't come near me when I'm cutting my cow kidneys. I
had this very vivid dream that I was having a hard time breathing. There's that.
Well, I wanted to touch on collective retreat for men and women that we are going to be hosting in 2026, date TBD, where we are focusing on men's health, women's health, as well as the communication piece. Because when you merge the two together, so much growth, so much power as a power couple. You have when you understand. It's going to be a place where you really come down to see where you truly are. No smoke and mirrors. This is where we are as a couple in health, in wealth, in mindset. And this is where we want to go. So we're going to create this amazing space container where we can grow and get our health up so that, knives aren't flying and liver chops are not.
And you just continue to live into your best version of yourself, right? And whether you're in a place of feeling like the best version of yourself is declining, or maybe you're in a place where you felt like you never had that opportunity to live into your best self, right, and you're struggling with that, this is going to be that place to be able to get all the tools, the modalities to be able to step into that. Because as we were talking about before, it's not just one Herculean effort to get you through it. It's actually stacking all of these little things that you do from a physical perspective, from a psychological perspective, because they're so interconnected.
Yeah.
Right.
And if we've ever looked at the most successful people, and obviously everybody's term of success is different, but if we look at the big successful people out there, major corporations, you know, heads of different things, I've always turned and said, what is the one thing they all have in common, or they have to have in common? They have to have that second person there that is their support network. Whether it be the personal assistant or whether it be their partner, you cannot reach the top on your own.
That's right.
No matter who you are, you have to have that support person there, because they have to be helping and stepping in, and sometimes they'll be taking the reins, and then sometimes you're doing it, or they're doing the other things in the background. And when couples can really find that sweet spot with each other, the ebb and the flow of how to be that support in a healthy way, that's how you climb mountains. As opposed to just walking on the flat.
Yeah.
Okay, well, on that note, thank you so much for coming and being so real, raw, and unfiltered. We did not sugarcoat this episode for sure, but thank you for the wealth of knowledge and all the information. Where can people find you?
Omnio Medical. So we do have a website. Our secretary has a cell phone. So this is very support for our patients. They can technically text and get support most days, most of the time, 778-349-3366. But if you go onto the Omnio website, you can also, on there is a link that takes you to our Jane app, which is the booking platform where you can create and just book an appointment. We do some classes, we do individual, and it's relatively flexible. People can pick by what they need.
Awesome. And that practice is entirely virtual. Right.
Amazing.
Anywhere in the world, anytime.
Any place. That's right. Just not at 1 o'clock. Boundaries. That also be one of the things we talk about on the retreat. Boundaries. Okay. Well, until next time. Bye.
Cheers.
We hope you enjoyed today's episode and gained valuable insights to elevate your life and business.
If you found value in our conversation, spread the love. Share this episode with family and friends, and let's grow this supportive community together.
And don't forget to like and follow us so we can reach more amazing people just like you.
Until next time, remember, let's not sugarcoat it. Keep it real, raw, and unfiltered.